Morning, guys. I am super excited because it is tomato planting day. Finally, it is April 14th, about 9 a.m. It did freeze here last night. The weather forecasted 46, I believe, as no. The weather forecasted 39 degrees as the low in the city, but we got down to 28 as of 5 o'clock this morning. So it did freeze, but it should be the last freeze of the season, I hope. The low tonight is gonna be 46, so hopefully it won't get below 32 here where I live. And these guys need to go. Look at this. So today I'm going to go through how to plant tomatoes that are really big. This does not usually happen to me. I don't know what happened this year. It will be fine. Tomatoes are very, very forgiving. I don't want to pull his roots out now, but I'll show you when we go out to the garden how I'm gonna plant these. So let me see if I can show you right here. Along the stem. Those are actually the tomato plant trying to grow roots. So when we plant this out, even though it's super tall, we're actually going to be planting it pretty deep, about halfway down its stem. So we're just going to remove all these bottom stems because they're getting a little diseased anyways. You can see that. It's we can't see it. Okay. So I planted 4 tomato plants out early for 2 reasons. One, if they were an experiment to see if it really was getting below freezing out in the garden. It was. They're dead. Number 2 was because I was tired of them. They were taller than these guys. They weren't fitting anywhere, and I just let them go. So I planted them out. The next night, or no, 2 nights after, I believe, it froze. And I do have footage of that morning when I woke up and it was frozen, and I will insert that here. Hey guys, so sorry about the lighting. I couldn't get out here at sunrise to plant these because it did freeze last night. It's freezing this morning. It's finally warmed up. I'm still wearing a long sleeve, but I'm gonna show you how I plant my super, super tall tomatoes. So what I have set up here is just a cattle panel trellis. This is a 4x8. My raised beds are actually 4x8 as well. So the cattle panels didn't fit all the way, as you know, and they might if I had constructed that with that in mind, but that's fine. I wanted to raise them up off of the bed anyways, because my tomatoes are definitely going to get taller than the top of that. But unfortunately, I can't use T-posts to tie it and raise it up, because at the bottom of this bed I have very small hardware cloth because I have gophers. So we had to use this small rebar to tie it, therefore it had to rest on the bed. That's better. Okay, so these are my 2 tomato beds. I have 4x8 trellises up in both of them. All of these long beds are 4x8s. But what I am going to do this year is put 8 tomatoes in each bed. I'm hoping that that will give them enough room. I think it'll give them enough room because I planted them really close together and I didn't prune last year, and they were fine. Very little disease except towards the end of the season, and it was very, very late. So I'm going to plant 8 tomatoes in a 4x8. I'm going to be more thoughtful in pruning and more committed to pruning, and we'll see how it goes. So I have this guy here, and he is very, very tall. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take off this, you see this bottom branch. Just with my fingers. If you have pruners, you can use pruners. Try to make it a clean cut, not where you're ripping the skin all the way down. You don't want to leave an open wound that can get infected. So now that this is all clear, I'm going to take this guy out. Oh. He's not too root bound. Could be worse. Could definitely be better. I'm going to set him aside, clear out my mulch, and then stick him in. By planting this guy this deep, he's going to grow roots all along these nodules where they're already growing, and just be a stronger plant for it. Now I've got my hole dug. I'm gonna dig it a little bit deeper once I put this guy in. But at the bottom of the hole, I'm gonna put bone meal, organic bone meal. This is one of the amendments that I use when I plant tomatoes. I don't know if I just happen to buy a particular kind of potting soil that, and raised bed garden soil that is low in phosphorus, because I tend to have phosphorus deficiency in my seedlings. But just to stave that off, I also added just a little bit to my planting holes, especially in these two beds that I'm putting the tomatoes in, because these are brand new beds. I have not put compost in these. These don't have nutrients from prior years. This is brand new raised bed soil with a bit of home made compost layered on top. But other than that, these aren't really good nutrient dense beds that have been used for many years. So I just put a little, probably, I mean I measure with my heart in most things, but it was probably less than a teaspoon. It's just a smidgen. Again, this plant is healthy, it looks fine, but just in case. Seems to be a problem with me. But you know what? These might freeze tonight and they all die, so who knows? This could be all in vain. Alright. So get this guy really deep and break up his roots a little. He's not too root bound, but. And then I'll move this dirt in around at the base. Kind of angle him towards the trellis so that when he grows, he'll grow up towards here, but also it's going to put more of his stem down because I didn't dig this hole really deep. Tomatoes are very forgiving plants. Now I do not have as much soil as I would like in this bed. I had to, I didn't have a whole lot of compost from the winter, so I had to mix it between the beds. I don't have any soil that I could add on top right now, but I may go to the store later on in the week and buy some and just put it over the top. There we go, he's all tucked in. Now, if you live in a humid or more wet climate, you might want to take the very bottom leaves off this plant that are touching the mulch right there, because tomato leaves and stems coming in contact with the ground and being wet all the time is really a breeding ground for disease and pests. I live in a very dry climate. We have no rain forecasted for basically the rest of the year. Just kidding. But it's not so much of a problem right now. I would rather keep these leaves on and have them, you know, convert as much light as possible to build up this root system and get the plant growing than to remove them for something that's probably not going to happen here. As the plant grows and it builds more leaves at the top, I will prune these lower leaves. Everything that's touching the ground here, I will prune off so that nothing's touching the ground, but I'm gonna wait until the plant gets a little bit bigger. I'm gonna finish up this planting and then show you the finished product afterwards. But let me show you the last man standing from the freeze the other night that killed the rest of my tomatoes. This guy's still alive, kind of. I don't think I'm gonna keep him. I don't know if you can see this. His leaves are pretty damaged. He's pretty sad. Not the best looking. So I think I'm probably going to let him go. I have enough to fill the beds even after I take him out. So it's pretty cool that he lived, but he's just gonna take up space and probably not produce a whole lot. So he's gonna go.